you could only understand.
You know, lad, that love business is a powerful thing.
Greater than gravity?
Well, yes, boy, in its way. I'd say it's the greatest force on Earth.
I've always wondered why, whenever people talk about the saddest moments in Disney cinema history, well, their saddest moment is what they've become since Avengers Endgame, but in terms of the old Disney cartoons in the 1900s, whenever people talk about the saddest moments, they always mention Simba going over Mufasa's dead body.
Dad?
Or that grandma leaving Todd from Fox and the Hound in the woods for his own safety, since she knows Amos Slave will shoot him otherwise.
That fox of yours almost killed Chief, and I'm gonna get him. You can't keep him locked up forever.
Or that scene from Dumbo when he visits his mum after she got locked up for her circus rampage. Got shot. Or when Jenny from Oliver and Company hugged Fagin for rescuing her from Sykes after he kidnapped her, despite the fact it was actually Fagin's fault she got kidnapped in the first place.
Bye, Mr. Fagin, and thank you.
Oh, bye-bye, Jenny.
Come on, boys. It's time for us to go.
Well, actually, maybe that's not sad, but it's somewhat emotional. I also found the end scene of The Little Mermaid emotional too, when Ariel is at her wedding and she whispers, "I love you, Daddy," to King Triton. She looks at him with tears in her eyes, and King Triton looks over at Prince Eric, who bows in respect to the king. Despite the fact that King Triton was vehemently against the idea of marrying a human earlier in the movie, with the more orchestral version of Part of Your World playing in the background, I always found that to be a super emotional scene. The dwarves from Snow White crying over her dead body was also kind of sad, although this never really touched me as a kid. And then the prince just rocks up and kisses her dead body like lol. Anyway, whenever people talk about the top saddest moments in Disney history, I swear no one ever mentions that scene from Sword in the Stone. That love business is a powerful thing. Greater than gravity? Yes, I'd say it's the most powerful force on Earth. As that squirrel was atop that tree getting one last look at what she thought was going to be her lifelong partner. Simp. Okie doke, so the point of all that is to introduce the new stat I've added in the game of life. I mean, I didn't add it to everyone's game of life, but recently I've realized that love/relationships probably deserve their own designated stat. I used to just lump this under the mental health stat, but there's enough of a difference between the two that it warrants its own stat. It's the same reason career and money aren't one combined stat, or money and investments aren't combined, or aesthetics and mental health aren't combined. Despite the fact there is obviously some overlap between all those stat combinations, they're different enough to the point where they deserve their own designated slot. If something like love can be considered the greatest force on Earth, it probably deserves its own stat. Money makes the world go round, but love is the most powerful force on Earth, in some cases. So what is this stat? You can probably guess from its name, it's about love/relationships. Different work is involved in maintaining a relationship as opposed to maintaining a friendship. You can go ages and ages without seeing your friends and still be friends. This is obviously not the case with relationships. Some people make long distance work. For me personally, it wouldn't. And even in that case, you'd still chat constantly. Whereas my friendship groups, a lot of us go months without even talking. We organize a catch-up, and we pick up where we left off. A checkpoint in the game of life. You younger guys may not get this at this point, since when you're in school, or even early university, you see your friends a lot. But as you get older, you will most certainly drift apart, at least a little, from your friends. But in many cases, your friendships still remain. People's priorities just change, which I'll touch on later. You going on a date with someone is a relationship stat increase. Chances are it's cost you some money to go on the date, and that time could also be spent on studying, working on your business, spent at the gym, or checking out investments. So it's a decrease to the 5 main stats, but it's still an increase in another stat, so it's not wasted time. However, you obviously could have had all your other stats sorted before going on this date. Example, you worked enough so you're not tight on money, or you did enough study so now you have a break, or all your gym sessions are taken care of, or there's nothing else important to know about investments for the day, or there's nothing extra you can do for your business for now. Stuff like that. Just as I talked about in my last video on the most optimal routine for your future. You've taken care of business, now you can do what you want. A date could also be considered a mental health stat increase, the same way you hang with your friends, but as I said before, there's enough of a difference between the two where they should probably be split up. And as you go on in life, as you go on in the relationship, you tend to spend more time with your significant other. I'm 27 at the time of making this video, and basically all my friends in relationships around this age spend basically all their spare time with their significant other. In some cases, they live together, so obviously they spend a lot of time together, whereas my younger friends tend to spread their time across more evenly. Like, they'll hang out with friends without their partner with them, they'll hang out with friends like 3 to 4 times a fortnight, and they'll see their significant other 3 to 4 times a fortnight. Pretty even spread. Meanwhile, when you're in your late 20s, people spend 7 out of 7 days a week with their partner. Meanwhile, they see their friends once every 3 months, if that. So they're spending more time on building the relationship/love stat. Now that's how it plays out in reality. As you get older, you spend more time with your partner. Makes sense. You're building a life together. You don't really build a life together with your friends, in most cases anyway. Maybe you go into a business with your friends, which could then be considered building a life together. I don't know. But even then, I don't recommend going into business with friends. It usually gets ugly, and I'm playing the numbers/stats in the game of life. I play the game using the best odds/chances, and the odds say it's better not to go into business with friends. And even then, I suggest a career over a business, as my regulars know. Once again, it's an odds game. A career, providing you pick the right path, is virtually guaranteed to work. A business, however, is not. I did also talk about the odds/priorities of how to structure your time, including a relationship, in the prior video, but I will mention more points relating to that another time. Okay, so why can I talk about relationships? I don't have a relationship, and yet here I am talking about it as a stat in the game of life. Why is that? What authority do I have? Well, maybe none in your eyes. I've had 2 girlfriends in my life, albeit one didn't really count. I briefly mentioned it in some video I made. I don't know, it was like a side tangent. I literally can't remember which video it was. But I had a girlfriend for a week when I was in year 12. Yep, a week. I thought we were in year 12, aka the last year of high school, not 12 years old. Immature ass. But that's a story for another time. So technically it's only one girlfriend. Had some random chick I was talking to on Snapchat say we were dating in year 11, which I had no clue about, but then said I'm dumping you a day later. I don't know what that was. Just odd. But obviously that doesn't count. So, one girlfriend in 2012, yonks ago. So let's go through some situations here relating to people's authority to speak on a relationship. I've only had one girlfriend before, and I'm currently single, so maybe I can't talk about a relationship. Another person has had one girlfriend before, only ever, and they're still together. Another person has never had any sort of relationship before. Another person has had countless girlfriends. So, who's got the authority to speak here? The answer is probably all of them. Here's why. A relationship is different for everyone. People have different personalities that suit different people, which is something I talked about in my Adonis School True Value video. It's not a good idea to change who you are since that act isn't going to last very long. Even if I did have a girlfriend, I'm sure she acts differently/responds differently to different things. So, whatever is applicable in my relationship won't be applicable to you. Now, the relationship stat differs from something like a career, or the aesthetic stat, or the investor stat, since with these 3 stats, generally you should have some sort of credentials backing up your statements. A giant pet peeve of mine is when unemployed/self-employed self-improvement YouTubers tell you all about getting a career when they've never had one themselves. You can read all the books on getting a career you want and recycle all that information on your channel. There's something to be said about actually having one yourself. And there's also other boots on the ground intel you gain from actually having your own career, as opposed to just reading what others have said. It's why I was always more of a fan of First Man, since he actually worked in finance, as opposed to others like Hamza and Denmo, who never really had a career per se. A call center is not a career, it's a job. You can work your way up, but he never did, so that's not a career. And I also think Denmo never had his own career, despite him saying in videos to get one. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly sure I'm right on that. Whatever, it's not important for the sake of this video. Now, with all that said, not all careers are the same. I'm in accounting, but there's many other careers out there. So on one hand, my experience is not the same as what is applicable to you, the same way a relationship isn't applicable across the board. But even so, I'm simply not a fan of people talking about stuff they have never done themselves before when it comes to stuff like a career, investments, or gym.
It's nothing worse than someone regurgitating something they read in a book or saw on the internet when they've never done it themselves.
I'm not a fan of people talking about investing when they don't do it themselves. Again, you can read all the books/learn all the info you want relating to investments. There's some in the trenches experience you need that can't be taught. You need to have done it yourself. Same with gym. You can talk about all the optimal ways to train/the best diet, whatever, but if you don't look like you lift, who's going to listen? That's probably the best analogy I can give of listening to people who've actually done it themselves. There's a meme in the fitness space about listening to a fat personal trainer. Like, why would I listen to a fat personal trainer? I apply the same logic with a career and investments. Why would you listen to someone about a career or investments when they don't have a career/any good investments to show for it? It's more clear in the gym case, since what you need to do at the gym is pretty universal. Like, everyone needs to increase the volume over time and eat at a calorie surplus, whereas things like a career can be different. Example, I need to go to uni and then do a post-tertiary qualification. Some careers involve getting an apprenticeship, some involve getting TAFE certificates, some involve a master's degree, etc. In my specific case, accounting, there's a job title that my regulars have heard me yap about for about half a year now, that being a finance manager. You wouldn't know this comes under accounting if you weren't part of the career space, or specifically the accounting space, let alone the fact you probably wouldn't even know this job title exists. I only know this after being in the accounting career for a few years. I never knew about this before. I never learned it in uni. All I learned about my career in uni was accounting opened my job prospects. What job prospects? Well, I didn't know that until after working in the field, and then seeing what everyone else in the field was saying. Their discussions matched my boots-on-the-ground experience, but I would never have been able to confirm any of the discussions if I wasn't already working in the field myself. The finance manager job title is a tidbit I gained from working in the field. My work specifically mentioned that job title to me, and usually you don't get made-up job titles, although it does seem that way sometimes with all their buzzwords. Elon made up a job title once, tech knocker of Tesla or whatever, but for us regular people, we need proper job titles. Now, I'd never actually heard of finance manager as a specific job title, so after doing more homework on it, I realized that this is what my career path is. I would have never known this without working in the field myself. Even scouring the Reddit forums on accounting, the discussions can be vague sometimes, but I only know what they're talking about / what career path they're talking about based on my real-world experiences in the field. Maybe I'm alone on this. Maybe I'm the only one who doesn't like when people with no career talk about a career, but it's the same with gym, is it not? Would you listen to someone about fitness when they're not even fit themselves? So maybe apply this same logic with a relationship. But as I mentioned before, each relationship is different enough to the point where I feel many people can talk about it, whereas a career and investments should probably have someone with some credentials in those areas to talk about them. And in the case of gym, why would you listen to a non-gym person about gym? So circling back to the scenarios I listed earlier, I can't talk since I've had one girlfriend before. So what do I know? The person with only one girlfriend can talk since they've had a successful relationship, but they only had one girlfriend before. What would they know about women as a whole if they've only had one girlfriend? Or boyfriend, whatever. The person who's never had any sort of relationship before, what would they know? Maybe they didn't have any decent candidates in their life, so they were smart and didn't try to force a relationship as opposed to getting in a toxic one. The person who's had countless girlfriends, yes, they've had experiences with many women, but why? Why can't they hold a relationship? If it was the other party that ended the relationships, what makes them so undesirable? If it was them who split off from the other partner, why are they so bad at choosing a partner? See how it's tricky to define who has authority to talk on relationships here? Whereas a career, investments and gym, it's more clear-cut. Even a brand / a business, there's a reason I don't have any videos talking about growing a brand / business. What would I know about it? I can read all the information I want on growing a business. If I haven't done it myself, then I should shut my mouth. That's why people listen to Alex Hormozy on growing a business. He's clearly done it and is good at it. I could very easily just copy the information he says and provide my own filter / perspective on that same information, and then make that into a video. I'm sure it'd get a decent amount of views given how many people want to escape the rat race these days, but I have no authority on growing a business. I haven't done it myself. Yes, my brand / business is growing, but it's nowhere near big enough to give me any sort of authority on this topic. But I can talk about a career, investments, and gym just fine. I got the receipts. So anyway, the reason I feel most people can give an opinion on relationships is because each relationship is quite different to each other. What works for this guy may not work for you. It's not like with gym, for example. If I do pull-ups, it'll grow my back. Yeah, it can grow other secondary muscles, but let's just keep it simple. Pull-ups grow your back. It's not as if I can tell you to get good at pull-ups to grow your back, but now your legs have grown. That's not how human anatomy works. Meanwhile, if I tell you to constantly compliment your girlfriend, some girls like that, sure, but I literally have a friend who hates it. She got turned off by a past boyfriend because he did that. So, see how the advice that works for someone else may not work in your situation? That's why many people can give an opinion on relationships. At least, that's what I believe. That's why I've added it as a stat in the game of life. And I have added it to my brand logo, since it'll form a part of my content going forward. Now, I won't be giving any suggestions on how to handle your relationship. I don't know what your relationship is like. I will, however, paint a more broad picture. I'll introduce some ideas that you may have not thought about yourself, and it's up to you to accept or reject those ideas and see if they're applicable to your specific relationship. And don't go listening to self-proclaimed relationship experts either. That's one of the most nothing job titles I've ever heard. Tell me you don't want to work without telling me you don't want to work. I heard one mention once to her female clientele that the best thing to do was nothing. Your Prince Charming will arrive soon. Just manifest him and he'll arrive. Like, you desperate women are paying someone to hear this? Huh? The other relationship expert advice I've briefly heard in passing via the news or whatnot are also basically some person giving their opinion. It's not advice that's guaranteed to work. If you need a relationship to be a relationship expert, then literally everyone who has a relationship should be a relationship expert in that case, despite the fact that maybe what works for them, and it doesn't work for you. It's just one example of a couple working well together. It's not a universal guaranteed way to work backed by numerous data. Why pay for a relationship expert when you can just simply ask someone who's in a relationship for their recommendations? It won't cost you any money at all. My career opinions are backed by legitimate data that shows you it's virtually guaranteed to work. Gym advice is virtually guaranteed to work since it's been proven by countless fitness fanatics over the years, as well as undeniable human physiology. Investment opinions like invest in good real estate on land in specific areas, or this stock will sell off tomorrow since it's got absolutely no resistance below on the charts, also has evidence to support it since we literally have statistics that shows what happens in these situations. Whereas relationship advice like communicate more is sometimes useful, but I've heard of cases where people just say, "Oh, I fell out of love." Sometimes some bullshit happens. I've seen it happen in my life, not me personally, although my ex did once say that. Story for another time. And I've seen it happen to others. The partner did nothing wrong. The other party just didn't want any part of it anymore. They drifted apart. You can check relationship subreddits to confirm this. And in some cases, it's the partner being just a hoe, just finding an excuse to sleep around. Rants and thoughts for another time. But anyway, if you drift apart, surely the relationship expert can fix that, right? It's yet another reason I had the order of your routine as money, gym, and career first, then relationships. The stuff with the first three are virtually guaranteed to work, and you can retain those no matter what. Whereas sometimes in a relationship, it just doesn't work out no matter what you do. And all that work is gone. Marriage counselors are even worse. I've seen many sources that the marriage counselor just sides with the female and blames everything on the man. You don't have to believe me. Look at what is being said online. Now, yes, this comes under doing some reading on that, as opposed to actually being in the field yourself, which is what I mentioned before in my career. But as I also said before, each relationship is quite different from the other. So that's why I'm here talking about it despite not being in one myself. I've always thought of a marriage counselor as just someone to vent to, a third party to listen to problems. Their opinions/advice isn't rooted in any expertise in this field, since there's no proven formula to get every relationship ever to work. It's essentially just their opinion, masked as expert advice. So don't listen to them. Don't pay for them. Just sort it out yourself would be my situation. It's literally like sports analysts. I only really watch sports talk during the NBA playoffs. It's nice to shake up the routine, getting excited for something, and the playoffs are always after my semester 1 CPA exam too, so it's like a nice little reward in a way. But you see people on TV yapping about who they think is going to win. Some of these people weren't even that great of an NBA player in the first place, Kendrick Perkins. Yet here they are labeled as a sports analyst. It's literally just their opinion. Now, I've won basketball championships before, but that was in some competition in my local region. Certainly nothing at a super high level. And even I've had some sports analysis that was better than the former pros. Like people who've literally played in the NBA/worked in the NBA in terms of the executives, general managers, etc., have sometimes had worse sports analysis than me. And not even just me. Some dudes I watch on YouTube only around the playoffs give their opinions too. These guys have never played professional ball, and yet their opinions on certain trades/who is going to win is correct and beats out the people who've actually played professional basketball/worked for the professional basketball teams before. With that said, I do understand for the sake of media/entertainment, you can't have all parties agreeing. You need to have some sort of disagreement for the sake of entertainment. But in that case, it goes to show you that these aren't sports analysts or experts, they're just talking heads on TV. They're literally just a media personality, if anything. Same with relationship experts and marriage counselors. It's literally just their opinion from someone slapping some fake label onto themselves to make themselves appear more credible. Even psychologists do this sometimes.
Once I've been in and out of like therapy and psychiatry for like literally no reason. I just wasted my fucking time. There wasn't one person that I sat down with that I just could like see right through the bullshit. Like I just would just cringe my ass off. And they all diagnosed me with different bullshit too. Oh my God, it's clinical depression. Oh fuck, you're fucking bipolar. Holy shit. The next one. Oh my God, your anxiety. Oh my God. And meanwhile, you know, you're hearing this shit and you're just sitting there like just so numb. You're like, get me out of here. Let me go to the gym. Let me go fucking do something else, wasting my time with this. It's just insane. It really is insane. So I kind of feel bad, you know, that I wasted like my mom's, you know, money, you know, trying to like try it out, you know, try therapy and psychiatry. What a load. What an absolute load. I used to think that like, you know, because I used to get like so serious if you said you were mad. Never tell them you're mad because they'll be like, oh, he's a man. He's not. If he's angry, he's a threat.
Despite the fact that they've had formal education. I touched on this briefly in my career video, but that's more thoughts and opinions for another time. So that whole tangent is to show another example that just because someone hasn't been in the field of relationships before doesn't mean they don't have valuable insights. Just because someone hasn't played in the NBA before doesn't mean their opinions on certain games/trades are wrong. Even those in relationships can often have bad relationship advice, since what works for them may not work for you. As I mentioned earlier with my female friend who doesn't like compliments constantly. Even those who've worked in the NBA before have bad analysis on NBA-related matters. Relationships and sports are more subjective, not objective. However, this doesn't apply to stuff like a career, investments, or gym. Those areas require some merit, as there's nuances involved that you don't quite get from simply reading about it. You need that in-the-trenches experience. A career, gym, and investments are more objective, not subjective. So that's an introduction to the new stat in the game of life. I'll make a follow-up or two relating to this stat, as I have more to say, but I feel they'd be better off on their own separate videos. I'll mention more about my interactions with women, and if having a boyfriend/girlfriend/partner is a viable strategy in the game of life. Spoiler alert, it depends. Thanks for watching. That is all.